Hello ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, innies, outies and in-betweeners. My name's Dan and welcome back to another PAP Reports. It's Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. With all jury trials suspended on March 23rd in compliance with the government's lockdown advice, thousands of trials have been put on hold, leaving people in a great situation of either remaining free for longer or in the not so great situation of being held in remand for longer. Well, although authorities believe it will still be months before courts can get back to normal, there are discussions of creating temporary Nightingale courts. Barrister Richard Wright QC is calling for the creation of Nightingale courts to start tackling a huge backlog of cases now building up in the justice system. An average of 1,000 criminal trials before a jury normally take place across England and Wales every month. A jury trial would normally consist of 12 members. However, during World War II, the number of jurors required was reduced from the usual 12 to just 7, except in cases of treason or murder. And this is basically what's being called for during the coronavirus pandemic. There's about 40,000 outstanding criminal cases, which I think we all agree needs to be dealt with. And as Mr. Wright puts it, Magna Carta declared, "To no one will we sell, to no one deny or delay right or justice." Yet the current crisis denies and delays justice to the majority of the users of the courts, litigants, witnesses, victims and defendants. The plan is to utilise empty public buildings along with existing courthouses to hold the trials. Courtrooms will be reconfigured to allow 12 jury members, thankfully, to be moved from the jury box to the much larger well of the court, where they can be seated at least 2 metres apart. Legal counsel for the defence and prosecution will then be moved from the well of the court into the jury box. An adjoining room will also be used to accommodate members of the media and other local representatives, who will watch proceedings via a video link. The Lord Chief Justice, Lord Burnett of Malden, said it's taken a lot of time, a lot of energy and a great deal of effort on the part of many people to come up with plans that Public Health England and Public Health Wales have both entirely been satisfied are safe. Only a handful of pilot jury trials will be held in the coming weeks before the number of cases is gradually expanded. But with it likely to be many months before the country's courts can operate at full capacity, authorities are considering a number of possible changes to the trial process, including decreasing the number of jury members to just 7 rather than 12. Now, I don't see how hard it is to remove the public gallery completely. That will allow the courtroom much more space to distance everyone attending and then record and play live all the court cases on a secure website so everyone can watch and view. That will certainly give more transparency over the proceedings and will help reporters to be able to view and report on events easier. Makes more sense to me. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. MPs are finally showing a bit of backbone after ordering the government to publicly state whether it will publish a review of grooming gang characteristics and explain its decision. A petition with almost 125,000 signatures, I signed, although I'm surprised more haven't, has been created for the release of the official research on grooming gangs undertaken by the government in full. The Petitions Committee, which considers all petitions on the government website that pass 100,000 signatures for debate in Parliament, said the government had not directly addressed the request. The government's official response, published a month late, said the work announced by Sajid Javid in 2018 was internal and would inform an upcoming strategy on child sexual abuse. The Petitions Committee chairperson, Catherine McKinnell, said a revised response must be provided by the 20th of May. She said this should clearly state whether the government will publish its research into the characteristics of group-based child sexual exploitation. She added, if the government does plan to publish this, your response should set out in what form and when. If the government does not plan to publish this, your response should explain the reasons for this. She told Priti Patel that the Petitions Committee had received a significant volume of correspondence complaining about the government's response. Your department's response to this position was also substantially late, the letter added. A response to this e-petition was requested on the 6th of March, but not received until 24th of April. It has been agreed with the Leader of the House that the government will respond within 21 days, making your response 4 weeks late. The initial response said the government had completed a review of existing literature, spoken to investigators and safeguarding professionals to gather information on child sexual exploitation. Mr. Javid first promised the review as Home Secretary in July 2018, pledging that there would be no no-go areas of inquiry. He said that abusers convicted in high-profile cases had been disproportionately from a Pakistani background, adding, "I will not let cultural or political sensitivities get in the way of understanding the problem and doing something about it." Survivors of child sexual exploitation in Rotherham said that they believed the research was going to be made public and accused the government of making empty promises. Nothing unusual there. The Home Office said they had applied a public interest test in a Freedom of Information request, but the information was exempt from the Freedom of Information Act because it could be used for government policy and included operationally sensitive information from police. The information could be misleading if made public and used out of context, the letter added. We recognise that this topic in general and any insight and learning are matters of strong public interest, although it does not necessarily follow that it is in the public interest to disclose any specific information relating to it. Wow, how can it not be in the public interest to know what characteristics are most prevalently found in rapists and sex offenders from grooming gangs? Well, I suppose it's not like we need to protect ourselves or our children after all, is it? Derbyshire Police Chief Constable Peter Goodman, the same one who made the decision to dye the Blue Lagoon black and follow people out walking with the police drone, is retiring after an IOPC probe into his personal conduct. 53-year-old Goodman announced his retirement on May the 6th, just days after the conclusion of the IOPC investigation, which, surprisingly enough, was kept quiet and ruled that no breach of professional behaviour occurred. I mean, I'm pretty sure it didn't go down something like this. Well, we know you did something wrong, but it will look bad on the police force. So if you retire, we'll let you keep your pension. The police force keeps its tattered remains of respect from the public, and we all keep quiet. Everyone's a winner. The events depicted are either the product of the author's imagination or used in a fictitious manner. Any resemblance or similarity to actual persons or events is purely coincidental. Although the details of the complaint that was being investigated has not been released, it was in relation to a personal matter. Goodman will leave the police force at the end of July, just 3 years into his 5-year contract. An IOPC spokesman would not reveal what the complaint was about. They added, "Following a referral from the Office of the Police and Crime Commissioner for Derbyshire, we looked into a potential off-duty conduct matter concerning the Chief Constable. Having assessed the available evidence, we considered that there was no indication of any breach of professional standards and consulted with the Police and Crime Commissioner, who agreed with our assessment. We have since advised the PCC and Chief Constable that our inquiries have ended." Derbyshire Police insisted that Mr. Goodman's decision to retire was not related to the investigation. A Force spokesman said any concerns that are raised over the conduct of the Chief Constable are dealt with by the Police and Crime Commissioner, who employs him, and not the constabulary. These are then referred to the IOPC. Unless there are matters of public concern, Chief Constable Goodman's personal life is just that. No allegations were made against him. Chief Constable Goodman's initial notification to retire was given at the beginning of March, they say. The decision was then made to stay to deal with the immediate issues relating to the COVID crisis. The decision to retire was not in any way related to this. No, of course not. The Police Service of Northern Ireland is under review by the Northern Ireland Policing Board over the response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Loyalist blogger Jamie Bryson has launched a legal challenge against the PSNI interpretation and enforcement of COVID-19 regulations, taking particular issue with how the PSNI has interpreted regulations regarding travelling and exercise. And a human rights advisor has been tasked with reviewing how the PSNI has implemented new powers given to the force under the coronavirus regulations introduced by the executive during the pandemic. The Health Protection Coronavirus Restrictions Regulations Northern Ireland 2020, introduced by the Stormont Assembly, states that no person may leave the place where they are living without reasonable excuse. Assistant Chief Constable Alan Todd had previously said it was not a valid excuse under the regulations to travel long distances to take daily exercise. The review commissioned by the Policing Board will consider whether the use of the new powers is in accordance with the law and compliant with human rights, whether it is being used proportionately, whether Police Service of Northern Ireland training for officers is adequate, the impact on the community confidence, and whether there are any recommendations that should be made or lessons that can be learned. The Policing Board's document setting out the terms of reference for the review said, the COVID-19 emergency has resulted in police services throughout the UK and Ireland being given very significant new powers which impact on the rights of our society. Generally speaking, the public have accepted that these powers are necessary and appear to be complying with them. However, there have been examples across policing services of members of the public not understanding or adhering to the guidance, and instances where police action or enforcement activity has not been proportionate. There has, however, been increasing negative public and media challenge to the legality of police actions, in particular around travel to exercise, the document states. Chief Constable Simon Byrne said, we welcome the Northern Ireland Policing Board review of the Police Service of Northern Ireland's response to COVID-19 and our application of the Health Protection Coronavirus Restrictions Regulations Northern Ireland 2020. On the 28th of March 2020, we reluctantly accepted, I suppose that's to twist your arm, the extraordinary and significant emergency policing powers to protect our health of our community as together we battle the COVID-19 global pandemic. Our aim throughout has always been to encourage and support the public to fully comply with these necessary restrictions. We have worked in partnership with our colleagues in the Northern Ireland Executive Office, the Department of Health and agencies across the public sector, including our outstanding health service workers, to jointly fight the spread of the virus and look forward to the outcomes of the review so we can apply learning as we continue to keep people safe during this healthcare crisis. 47-year-old Metropolitan Police Constable Rudvell Waters, attached to the North West Command Unit, has been charged with sexual assault on a female and attempted sexual assault on a female, both contrary to Section 3(1) of the Sexual Offences Act 2003. The charges relate to an incident that allegedly took place at a hotel in High Road, Wembley, at around 5 AM on February the 5th, 2019, whilst he was on duty. The Met said its Directorate of Professional Standards was informed and the officer was arrested on February the 6th. He was then charged on May 15th. He will appear at Willesden Magistrates Court on Tuesday the 11th of August. Being a magistrate, I would assume it is a plea hearing. However, he is still working but is said to be on restricted duties. Surely if he's been charged, although not yet found guilty, but being charged should be enough to suspend, surely. I get that while the investigation is going on, there's an argument to restrict duties in some cases, but surely not when charges are brought, meaning that there is belief that there's enough evidence to suggest that they're guilty. Doesn't make any sense. Police thinking they are the all-knowing and all-powerful yet again. Now, although I have mentioned previously that with our restrictions currently being eased, Wales hasn't followed the same route as our government and hasn't yet eased any restrictions in line with ours, which makes it a little tricky dealing with police in Wales if you're from England. A father and son have been fined by police for travelling from Manchester to Flintshire for a second time in a fortnight. Police from the Rural Crime Team made a post on social media about the pair that travelled to North Wales without a good enough reason, allegedly. A spokesman said, incredibly, we have had to issue COVID fines to the same father and son who keep returning to an area of Flintshire from Manchester to carry out unnecessary work on a SSSI, despite being told not to. They have both been fined twice now, 2 weekends on the trot. Now, an SSSI is a Site of Special Scientific Interest, for those of you wondering. And talking of wondering, I wonder what degree in which of the sciences the police had in his back pocket to determine whether the work was essential or not. Father and son working on the site clearly can't do it from home, and travelling for work purposes, only if it's not possible to work from home, is a valid reason to be travelling. But it seems the police are not only legal professionals, relationship counsellors and mental health nurses, they're also experts in the sciences. Clearly, it would be different if they were on their way to pick magic mushrooms. But a site designated as a site of special scientific interest kind of gives away that it's not just a run-of-the-mill beauty spot. Police Officer of the Year, 41-year-old PC Dave Humpherson from our good friends and almost most popular force here on the channel, West Midlands Police, has been sacked. Humpherson was dismissed for gross misconduct after he sent a picture of his truncheon to a woman he met on dating app Bumble whilst he was on duty, and also met the woman whilst on duty at a Shell garage on the A491 in, get this, Bell End, on September the 2nd, 2019. Bell End, Humpherson, too many innuendos, served with the police for 22 years, and at the misconduct hearing he said the purpose of the meeting was to explore the possibility of having a sexual relationship. West Midlands Police Chief Constable Dave Thompson, who presided over the misconduct hearing, said the actions were reckless and unwise. He found the constable had breached standards of discreditable conduct, duties and responsibility, and that it amounted to gross misconduct, and the officer was shown the door, dismissed without notice. The Scottish Police Federation is turning on its brethren, Police Scotland, and reporting them to the Health and Safety Executive. Scottish Police Federation said it was concerned that officers could be exposed to COVID-19 while conducting drink drive tests. The Federation claims testing urine samples would be a safer alternative. But Police Scotland said it is meeting and often exceeding the relevant guidelines. In a letter to Scottish Police Federation members, Callum Still, the body's General Secretary, said Police Scotland operational guidance in respect of breath test procedures neither reflects best risk management practices or properly mitigates risk to officers. Colleagues will know from their own experiences that suspects often take several attempts to generate enough lung capacity and technique to be able to successfully comply. We are clear that alternative approaches in no way hinder the ability of the police to respond to and detect those who drink and drive, or introduce greater risk to the system of work. Police Scotland said it was following the advice and direction of bodies including the HSE and Health Protection Scotland in applying a comprehensive operational policing risk assessment. The Scottish Police Federation claims that the force failed to properly engage with the concerns, and it was forced to take the extraordinary steps of reporting Scotland's single police force to the Health and Safety Executive. They also said they want urine samples used instead of breath tests, but added that if this was not deemed possible, then full protective equipment, including face masks and goggles, should be worn at all times in the test process. Now, I've got to argue here that if the police are so worried about infection, then why are they not wearing protective equipment all the time? I mean, if you're going to be making such a fuss about potentially catching something, then that risk is constantly present, and it's seemingly always overlooked, in most cases, by the police when dealing with the public. There's hundreds of videos and photos of showing police interact with the public with complete disregard to our safety. I think maybe we should all be sending complaints to the Health Safety Executive about our safety and the lack of thought by police whilst going about their daily roles, interacting with tens of people per day, and then approaching, touching and speaking to us. And that's making us high risk of catching something from them. A Greater Manchester police constable has had his wallet pickpocketed from him by the suspect he had handcuffed in the back of his police car. That's right, Greater Manchester Police PC arrested 32-year-old Anthony Connor after he tried to steal a Range Rover off of a driveway. The owner of the Range Rover managed to stop Connor from escaping and held on to him until the police arrived. They handcuffed him and put him in the back of the police car before heading back to the station to book him in. During the ride back to the station, Connor leaned forward and pickpocketed the plod's wallet. Unfortunately, Connor dropped the wallet and was caught fumbling around trying to pick it up. When asked what he was doing, Connor replied, "I am sorry, I didn't know it was your wallet." Connor was jailed for 20 months after he admitted theft, taking a car without consent, plus burglary at the home of his own nephew, in which a Rolex watch and a gold chain worth more than £13,500 was stolen. The court heard he had also taken his nephew's wallet containing his driving licence and insurance, plus European medical card, bank cards, £450 cash and €350 in holiday money. He also stole jars of coffee and protein bars from a co-op store. Connor had previously been locked up for burglaring the home of his own mother, who has since disowned him. His actions he blames on being addicted to drugs. His defence barrister Martin Pizzi said he has wanted to be drug-free for a considerable amount of time, and his own mother says that when he isn't taking drugs, he is a completely different person, gets along well with people and does constructive things with his time. He knows he will go to prison and wants his sentence to be long enough for him to leave prison drug-free, and he's determined to remain that way on release. Problem is, you end up getting drugs easier in prison than you do on the streets. Sentencing Connor, Judge Timothy Stead, said, "Your story makes very unhappy listening, particularly for your victims. Addiction to any drug, whether drink or illegal substances, always brings misery, and it has done so in your case. I hope you are successful in ridding yourself of your problems, but I have to deal with you for what you have done." Police and social media doesn't always seem to mix too well. This time, Cheshire Police faced backlash over a post on Runcorn Police's social media. A tweet which showed the damage caused to a door after a forced entry drug raid to seize what's been called as a small amount of cannabis caused a barrage of comments. Among those to comment on the raid was cannabis campaign group Normal UK, which accused the social media post of boasting about having vandalised the householder's front door. A blogger from feedthebirds.com accused police of using a chainsaw to force entry and illustrated the story with a mock-up picture of a character Leatherface from the film Texas Chainsaw Massacre, along with the Cheshire Police badge. The same post on Runcorn Police's Facebook page received backlash, with one Facebook user fuming. There's also a very good chance that had this person had the money to go to a private clinic, they would have had the very same plant prescribed. The only crime being punished here is being poor. One social media user received over 200 likes, loves and laughing face reactions for contrasting cannabis to alcohol harm, saying, "I've been to Runcorn once. I've never seen so many drunk people getting intoxicated on legal alcohol, although not surprising as it's so cheap in that town. They cause far more trouble than someone smoking a joint in the privacy of their own home, but they are probably much more difficult to arrest, so easier to go after the harmless cannabis consumers." Cheshire Constabulary told the Liverpool Echo officers found a small amount of cannabis, but refused to comment on the specific amount, saying that information would be established as part of its investigation. A Force spokesman said the warrant was looking for evidence of involvement in Class A drug activity, an allegation which the householder has roundly denied, branding it news to me. The occupant also alleged that the door was sawed through while they were making dinner for their 3-year-old daughter, who is now terrified of entering the front room. Cheshire Police said that warrants have to be approved by a magistrate where there are reasonable grounds to suspect an offence has been committed. The Force spokesman said officers conducted a search of the premises and recovered a small quantity of cannabis. A very big thank you to the channel Patreon supporters. Your support is, of course, truly appreciated. And that's all I have for you today. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you will. And until next time, stay safe, look after each other, film the police and other officials. Good night, all. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you like the content and you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so. In the description of every video there are some links to ways that you're able to help support the channel so I can continue putting out content. If you're unable to help us in that way, hit that subscribe button up the top there. If you haven't already, become a subscriber. That is support enough. Share the videos, comment, like, it all helps. If you're looking for something else to watch, up top there is my latest video. Down the bottom there is a video that YouTube recommends for you.